Moments later, he wakes up with a splitting headache, thinking he still has work to finish. When he looks at his reflection, he freezes. That face isn't his. He looks up and sees a massive white tree floating in the sky. At that point, he knows something is seriously wrong. A mysterious being appears and congratulates him for the summoning, granting him exactly 3 wishes. Panic kicks in, but then realization hits. He's in another world, thinking he's the protagonist of some Ice Guy story with a cheat item. He gets bold. If he only has 3 wishes, then the first one should be asking for 10. Big brain move, at least in his head. The floating book gets excited. It immediately senses that this soul isn't the original owner of the body. Then it reveals its true form, a grotesque demon who casually explains that it devoured the original soul. Joan realizes he landed in the wrong world in the wrong body. When he tries to back out, the demon snaps its fingers and sets his body on fire. Even thinking about breaking the contract triggers endless punishment. His screams echo through the streets while the demon decides he's as pathetic as expected. It's ready to end everything right there. But Joe Chun, with his corporate background mindset, finds a loophole. He argues that it doesn't count as breaching the contract. If the demon's punishment makes it impossible for him to fulfill his side, the demon pauses, intrigued. Zhao Chen even claims that if forceful possession were possible, it would have already happened. He insists this was just a test of willpower, and he passed. The demon bursts into laughter. It admits no human has ever tried to negotiate like this before, so it offers a new deal. If Dao Chen fulfills just 1 wish, he gets a complete fresh start. However, the demon immediately uses the first wish for itself, demanding 1,000 additional wishes. It reminds him that he's practically dead anyway. With no real choice, Zhao Chen agrees. He signs the contract with his own soul on the line and seals the pact. The next morning, he reaches his rundown apartment, looking like someone who got mauled all night. The demon is gone, leaving him alone to deal with this new reality. Inside, he finds a debt note signed in blood. The situation at home is worse than he imagined. Suddenly, a voice shouts from behind him, and a metal bat smashes into the back of his head. The intruder yells about ignored calls while his partner warns him not to kill the kid. One of them mentions that the boy might be dangerous because he's an oracle. Confused and furious, Zhao Chen demands to know who they are. The answer comes as a brutal kick to his chest. The blonde thug demands to know where his mother is and starts trashing her, saying she works herself to death, paying off her deadbeat son's debts. He calls her useless and says both mother and son are a waste of oxygen. The insults hit deep. Zhao Chen remembers being a child, telling his mom he didn't want to be a loser anymore. He once had a nightmare where she died from exhaustion trying to support him. Back then, he asked what would happen if he never awakened as an oracle. She simply told him not to worry, that even if the world collapsed, she would always stand by his side. She told him to believe in himself. Back in the present, something snaps. Zhao Chen rises and throws a lightning-fast punch straight into the blonde thug's face. The impact sends him flying. When the dust settles, his face is completely ruined beyond recognition. The other two stare at Skin, sensing the sudden shift in his aura. It's like he just had a breakthrough in real time. With the coldest look yet, he tells them to shut their filthy mouths. Still, the thugs decide it's time to teach the E-rank bred a lesson. If they have to break a leg or 2 to put him in his place, so be it. Jukin quickly realizes they're talking about his power level and figures they're probably ranked higher anyway. One of them swings a metal pipe straight down his head, but to him it moves in slow motion. He casually steps aside and reappears behind the big gorilla-looking thug, landing a clean knee to the guy's face and sending him flying across the room like he weighs nothing. The second thug rushes in from behind, thinking there's no way an E-rank should be that agile. He aims straight for Zhu Chen's ribs, confident the kid can't see him coming. In the next second, a savage roundhouse kick caves in his ribcage instead, and he gets launched away like last night's trash. Completely unable to process what just happened. Terrified, the thug starts begging for mercy, swearing they only came on Linu's orders to collect the loan money. Hearing that, Zhao Chun calmly tells them to inform their boss that the money will come in due time, so he better chill and stay out of his life. The two goons shudder at his cold tone and rush out the front door without daring to look back. Once it's quiet, Zhao Chun asks if the demon is still there. Goldfinger is genuinely surprised the amateur managed to sense his presence, but Zhao Chun explains he felt the power surging through his body. The demon tells him to be grateful for the help, and Zhao Chun, excited, starts calling him boss and says that with that kind of power, he doesn't have to fear anyone. That instantly irritates Goldfinger, who reminds him that a mere mortal shouldn't casually think about wielding power that could erase him if he exceeds the limit. Zhao Chen asks how the boss expects to grant wishes if he's too weak to handle the strength, and the demon replies that he'll grow stronger through rewards. But for now, he must forget about using that power recklessly. Disappointed, but listening, Zhao Chun holds back while Goldfinger secretly finds it insane how naturally he handled the power earlier. It even makes him wonder if Zoken might somehow be connected to a fated partner from long ago, though he keeps that thought to himself. When Zoken asks about his second wish and what he should do next, the demon casually tells him to forget about it for now and just live however he wants. That doesn't help much, and Zoken sigh, realizing he knows almost nothing about this new world and that this body might not be as reliable as he hoped. He grabs one of the thug's phones to try to understand what kind of life he had gotten himself into and immediately notices there are no calls or messages from his family. But when he opens a text from his sister, he freezes because she had begged him to come quickly since their mother had fallen into a coma. At the hospital, Zoken throws the door open in suspense and sees a girl who must be his sister hunched over in front of their mother's bed. The atmosphere is painfully tense, which makes sense since he ignored her before. And when he looks at the woman lying there, her condition is far worse than the warm image he had in memory. With guilt on his face, he apologizes for being late and asks how their mother is doing. But his sister smiles in pure anger and mocks him, listing all the lame excuses he used in the past about training and summoning demons. She suddenly explodes, saying their mom collapsed from exhaustion, trying to pay off his debts, and nearly died because there wasn't enough money left for hospital bills. After venting everything she held inside, she hands him a card covering 6 months of his expenses and calmly says she'll take care of their mother alone from now on. When he asks what that means, she tells him without hesitation that he's dead to her, and that sentence hits harder than any punch he took earlier. Outside the hospital, Goldfinger senses his dark emotions and asks why human girl's words hurt him so much. The demon reminds him he wasn't the one who caused this, but Zhao Chun remembers his own pathetic past and how he once made similar mistakes, which makes the boss laugh and tell him not to let emotions delay their plan. When Zhao Chun asks if getting stronger will solve everything, Goldfinger confirms that once he proves he has what it takes, all obstacles will disappear. That's enough motivation, and he fully commits to starting his training arc without hesitation. Meanwhile, at a nightclub, Linu orders his secretary to get their team moving faster because customers won't wait forever. The secretary reports that a student beat up 3 of their men, and Linu immediately remembers his subordinates tried to collect before the deadline and damaged his reputation. The real problem, however, is that the student defeated guys ranked higher than him, which shouldn't be possible no matter how skilled someone is. Liu grabs the report with Zhao Chen's profile and concludes the boy is hiding far more strength than he lets on, so he orders his secretary to keep close tabs on him. Back outside, Zoken goes for a morning jog, and a friendly neighbor offers him a good deal on supplements, but he says he'll come back later. Seeing how energetic he looks, the old man jokes that maybe he got a girlfriend, not knowing Zoken has just been adjusting to his body and grinding nonstop to get stronger. While researching, he learns that people with abilities are called oracles, and that Zhu Chun sank into massive debt because strength-enhancing supplements cost a fortune. Even so, after just a few days of brutal training and some drugs, he's already getting noticeably stronger and isn't sure where his limit even is. Right as he's thinking about that, his phone rings, and when he answers, an angry voice yells that he completely forgot to return, like their teacher instructed. Hearing that, Zoken suddenly remembers he ghosted them without a word. The next day at school, Zhao Chun learns how the ranking system actually works. There are 6 ranks from a down to E, and you have to max out your current rank before even thinking about moving up, which takes insane effort because the gap between ranks is monstrous. Society is split into 5 layers with E ranks and regular nobodies stuck in the outer zones, while D rank and above live in the inner layers like VIPs. Realizing he's basically bottom tier trash in this system, Zhao Chun decides he needs to climb fast and break into the middle layers as soon as possible. Right as he's thinking that, some Neanderthal flicks a booger at the back of his head and laughs in his face. The guy's buddy jokes that even though they're level 1 oracles like him, they could still beat him up because he looks that weak. Annoyed that monkeys like this still exist, Zhao Chun is about to respond when the teacher walks in and class starts. Later outside, while stretching, he actually thinks school life isn't going too badly. That piece lasts about 5 seconds before someone calls him out from behind. A few minutes later, Booger Guy is shocked to see Zhao Chun squaring up against the strongest guy in class. His friend isn't surprised at all since he's used to seeing Zhao Chun get into fights. The bully smirks and says he's gotten too cocky just because he scores well on written exams, reminding him that an oracle's true value comes from strength and his level 1 power is garbage. Without missing a beat, Joan points out that the bully is also level 1 trash that instantly sets him off and he throws a violent hook. Zhao Chun catches the fist with one hand, twists the wrist with the other, and calmly asks if he's done yapping. The bully can't believe he's being overpowered and even wonders if Xiaochen somehow got taller. Xiaochen throws the guy's own words back at him, saying strength is everything, then politely asks for permission to smash his face in. The bully starts sweating, fully expecting to get wrecked. Right then, Coach Thianzai shows up, furious, demanding to know if Xiaochen plans to cause trouble. The moment he comes back, putting on the most innocent face possible, Xiaochen claims they were just playing around. The bully jerks his hand free, and with things cooling down, the coach gives a final warning and orders everyone to line up for testing. Soon, the students gather around the pull-up bar, while Theon starts hyping them up about the upcoming intercal tournament. He promises that strong results will bring glory and open doors to elite mice, then shamelessly plugs his miracle supplements like a full-time salesman. The bully steps up first and cranks out 50 pull-ups in one go. Zhou-chan watches unimpressed, muttering that this feels more like a TikTok challenge than a real test. Right then, the class representative approaches him, asking if he's okay since he ignored her messages for days. She awkwardly claims she was just curious, but Zoken reassures her nothing happened. Changing the topic, she asks why he refuses to buy the teacher supplements. He bluntly answers that he's broke. She tries to warn him about the consequences, but her name gets called before she can finish. She manages only 25 pull-ups before dropping. Yet, Coach Thianzi, remembering she bought 2 bottles, magically bumps her score to 35. That's when it clicks for Zoken. The overpriced junk isn't about strength. It's about survival. If you don't buy, you risk getting pushed out. Finally, Zhao Chun steps up to the bar. The coach narrows his eyes, fully aware he never bought a single bottle. A twisted smile creeps across his face as he decides to make an example out of him. As Zoken grips the bar, he immediately feels something off. His body becomes heavier, and he realizes the crystals embedded in the wrist guards are secretly adding weight. Even so, he refuses to give in, figuring there must be a limit to how much they can handle. He starts pumping out reps smoothly. The class stares in disbelief as the so-called weakling surpasses everyone with ease. When he blasts past 100 pull-ups, the students lose their minds, shouting that he must be at least second tier. After he drops from the bar, a crowd surrounds him, firing off endless questions. Meanwhile, Coach Thes stands frozen, wondering if the boys secretly used enhancers. Fear creeps in as he realizes that students might not need his shady supplements anymore. A devilish smile slowly spreads across his face as he starts cooking up a nasty plan. Elsewhere, the principal is yelling into the phone about second-tier events being canceled. He argues the school is underfunded and barely survives with third-tier students. The voice on the other end bluntly explains that funding is reserved for elite oracles, which is why top schools get all the money. Slamming the phone down, the principal face palms in frustration, knowing they don't have the resources to produce even one elite oracle. His gaze drifts to a black crystal locked inside a glass case. As he desperately thinks of a way to keep the school afloat, his thoughts are interrupted when Coach Z calls from outside. The coach walks in confidently and places a list of names on the desk, claiming these students are future elites. The principal scans it and immediately notices they're barely first tier, yet the coach is selling them like prodigies. Then Thianzi casually adds that there is one student completely unfit to become an oracle. The principal takes the bait and asks who it is. At that exact moment, the story shifts back to Xiaochen, walking toward the principal's office with Goldfinger floating beside him. The cursed book asks what he did this time, but Xiaochen stays silent, already sensing trouble ahead. Standing outside the office, Xiaochen remembers all the nasty rumors about the headmaster and already feels like this meeting won't end well. He's about to grab the door handle when flames suddenly burst into existence right in front of him, catching him completely off guard and almost making him stumble back. Inside his head, Goldfinger lights up in excitement, saying the triggered wish he mentioned earlier has finally appeared, and ordering Zhao Chun to grab the object immediately. Zhao Chun complains about the horrible timing, but before he can think it through, the principal's voice cuts in from inside, telling him to stop wasting time and come in. He steps into the office and politely asks why he was called. The principal flips through his school record and calmly asks what it takes to become an oracle, then answers his own question without waiting. It all comes down to money. He bluntly tells Zhao Chun to quit now while he's still ahead, explaining that developing an oracle costs way too much, and a broke kid like him won't survive in the long run. In his head, he thinks it's better to cut losses early, and he even says he's willing to return the tuition fee. While Zoken is still processing that, Goldfinger's eye widens as he suddenly realizes the black crystal displayed in the office is the mission object. He urgently tells Zoken to grab it, but Zoken whispers back that the demon should take it himself. Goldfinger immediately reminds him that he needs a human to act on his behalf. Zoken pauses, thinking fast, knowing that if he gets expelled now, his plan to reach the mid-city zone is finished before it even starts. He quickly recalls that not a single student from this academy has ever gone beyond E2 level, which is exactly why even small breakthroughs are treated like gold here. Then he asks Goldfinger if he can decide the reward for completing this mission. At that moment, the demon realizes what he's planning. But before he can argue, Zhao Chun cuts him off and declares that he wants the borrow power skill. Goldfinger explodes, shouting that the choice is insane and extremely dangerous, warning that overusing it could easily kill him. But Zhao Chun stays locked in and argues that if he ends up expelled, the demon's wish might never come true. So trusting him is the only option. After a tense moment, Goldfinger reluctantly agrees, saying whatever happens next won't be his responsibility. A glowing panel appears in front of Zhao Chun, asking if he wants to accept the borrow power skill, and he agrees without hesitation. The principal interrupts and asks if he has any final words before the decision is made. Zhao Chun firmly replies that he wants his level reassessed first. The principal sighs at what sounds like a hopeless request, but extends his hand anyway. When they make contact, he notices Zhao Chun's strength is higher than the records show, but still not enough to justify keeping him enrolled. Closing his eyes, Zhao Chun realizes this is his last chance and desperately absorbs as much star energy as he can. Suddenly, a powerful aura bursts out from his body, shocking the principal. Even Goldfinger is caught off guard because the energy now flowing through Zhao Chun is stronger than the power he lent him. The principal staggers back, realizing Zhao Chun just broke through and reached level 4 on the spot. Grinding his teeth, the principal regains his composure and instantly changes his tone, telling Zhao Chun to participate in the upcoming school tournament. Zhao Chun blinks, confused by the sudden shift, but quickly pieces it together. The school is underfunded, and the principal wants to use him as proof that the academy can still produce talent. The principal admits he was planning to weed out weaker students to save money and apologizes for dragging Zhao Chun into the mess. As compensation, he grants him a full scholarship and 6 bottles of supplements every week, saying directly that the academy's future now depends on him. Sensing just how desperate the man is, Zhao Chun takes a shot and asks for the black crystal on the shelf. The principal explains it was carved from a black star crystal brought back by the previous headmaster, and that it represents the school's faith and pride. After a long sigh, he admits that if the school collapses, the symbol won't mean anything anyway, so he agrees to hand it over. Zhao Chun confidently promises to give everything he has to win the tournament. When asked how he suddenly became so strong, Zhao Chun casually says he had been hiding his strength the entire time. The principal nearly chokes, thinking masking a level is some ultimate Heil move, and swears he won't tell anyone. A female teacher then enters the office, and the principal instructs her to escort Zhao Chun to the elite class. As they walk, she explains that the entire second floor is reserved exclusively for elite students. She casually asks what kind of connection he has with the principal, but Zhao Chun brushes it off without revealing anything. Right then, Coach Theonji storms in at full speed, apologizing and saying he begged the headmaster to reconsider the decision. The female teacher cuts him off, clarifying that Zhao Chun isn't being expelled at all, but is actually being transferred to the elite class. She adds that the principal is now looking for him, and the color drains from Theonji's face instantly. Later that night, Zhao Chun drags himself back to his tiny apartment and collapses onto the bed. Staring at the ceiling, he mutters how a broke kid like him is supposed to maintain level 4 in such a short time. Goldfinger immediately reminds him about the mission and warns that borrowed power won't trick people forever. Zhao Chun admits he already figured that much, but at least he secured free supplements and avoided expulsion, so things could be worse. Then he looks at his phone and remembers the real problem is still the mountain of debt hanging over him. If he doesn't come up with a money-making plan soon, all of this strength won't mean much. The next day at school, he looks more depressed than ever. Looking around at the dusty, run-down hallway, Joan wonders what kind of dump he just walked into. The walls look abandoned, like nobody's been there in years. Out of nowhere, someone calls his name and a man waves at him from a distance with a huge, friendly smile, telling him to come over. They start talking and the man apologizes for not finding him sooner since he's always buried in class duties. He introduces himself as Teacher Zhang, and Zhao Chun immediately asks if he's really the only teacher here. Zhang scratches his head and admits the school hasn't been doing great lately, so he's the only one assigned to the advanced class. He explains that they use the innermost section for training, which is why the outer halls are just collecting dust. When he pushes open the door, he reassures Zhao Chun not to worry and says the facilities are still top-notch. He even promises things won't ever be boring. The moment Joe steps inside, he just stares. The interior is completely different from the outside. It looks like a world-class gym, almost like a five-star fitness club packed with energetic students. Teacher Zong explains that everyone is doing self-training and offers to introduce him. While Zoken looks around impressed, he notices a few students throwing side glances at him. Clearly curious, the teacher calls everyone over and introduces the newcomer. Jo Chun bows politely and greets them respectfully, but a red-haired guy at the back crosses his arms with a smirk and immediately starts trouble. He mocks Zoken, telling him to stop pretending and admit he used connections to get into the elite class. Teacher Jang snaps at him, telling him to behave and explaining that Zoken transferred purely based on skill. The redhead clearly isn't convinced. He narrows his eyes like he just found easy prey and suddenly challenges Zo Chun to a fight. The students instantly light up, excited because they haven't seen a duel in ages, and rumors start spreading fast. A blonde student at the back asks what's going on, and a pink-haired girl explains that a fight is about to break out. That immediately catches his interest, and he starts asking about this so-called transfer student. Back in the center, Teacher Zong quietly advises Zhao Chun to refuse the challenge, but Johan accepts without hesitation. He calmly adds that he's fine with the match as long as lethal force is off the table. Meanwhile, in the school office, the principal is nearly losing it, asking if the new kid is already picking fights. On the phone, the teacher explains that Zhao Chun accepted Wen's challenge. Neither side backs down. They face each other, building up intense aura. The principal finds it strange, but assumes Zhao Chun just wants to test his level, so he approves the duel in the arena. Later, both students stand behind separate desks, while teacher Xiong explains the rules. No outside interference, and both fighters must compete at the same star level. Some students struggle to believe Zhao Chun is really an E rank like Wen Hao. The teacher strongly reminds them that striking vital points is absolutely forbidden. He repeats that lethal force is not allowed under any circumstances, and whoever loses cannot retaliate afterward. A clean strike to the face or surrender will end the duel immediately. With a wave of his hand, the fight begins when Hao charges straight at Zhou Chun, aiming for his neck without hesitation. Zhou Chun doesn't even flinch. He catches the arm smoothly, throwing the red head off balance. Realizing this won't be easy, when Hao unleashes a barrage of relentless strikes, but Zhou Chun dodges each one calmly, slipping past them with precise movements. Frustrated, Wen shifts tactics and throws a kick. His leg twists midair as he unleashes his signature move, the wind hook kick. Joan blocks with his arm, and the redhead grins, thinking he secured the win. But from that same position, Zhu Chan suddenly fires a sharp kick toward Wen Hao's neck. The redhead barely recovers, shocked that this guy even knows martial arts. He stabilizes himself, deciding the only thing that matters now is protecting his face. Just as he turns back around, Zhou Chan calmly taps him on the nose with a closed fist. With a small smirk, he asks if that counts as victory. The arena falls silent for a moment until teacher officially declares Zhao Chun the winner. Wen Hao stands there frozen, unable to believe he actually lost. The other students are just as stunned. They start whispering that the transfer student is way stronger than expected. Meanwhile, Zhou Chan feels the match ended too quickly, but at least he learned something from it. He asks Wen Hao if he has any complaints now. Watching everything, Coach Thinzi can't believe what he just saw. Wen Hao is an elite who's had professional training, yet he lost to someone who only just joined the class. He realizes this must be why the principal told him to give the kids special treatment. Suddenly, the principal himself appears and congratulates Zhu Chun, telling him to follow because they need to talk. The pink-haired girl looks shocked at the sight, while the blonde guy says they definitely need someone like him in their crew. The principal asks Zhu Chun if he likes the elite class. He replies honestly that aside from the students being overly enthusiastic, there's nothing that's special about it. The principal chuckles and says he'll get used to it, because strong people always attract attention. He advises him to focus on training and promises the school will do everything possible to support him. Hearing that, Zoken feels the principal finally trusts him. So, he takes the chance and asks if there's any way for students to make money fast. The principal immediately tells him to focus on training instead, saying that long-term strength will bring bigger rewards. He even offers financial help if his family is struggling. Jukin quickly says it's nothing like that, but inside he knows he'll have to find another way to make money. Later, while training alone in the gym, he reminds himself to be careful. The school has very strict policies against student loans, and he can't afford another financial disaster. While training, Zoken keeps thinking about one thing. Where the hell can he make some extra money fast? He's still deep in debt, and strength alone won't pay the bills. Out of nowhere, the yellow-haired guy appears in front of him and casually compliments him on a match. He asks who Zhou Chun even is, and Zoken immediately throws the same question back at him. The pink-haired girl sighs and tells the yellow-haired guy, Shun, that he's being rude again. She apologizes to Zoken and introduces herself as Sha, saying the annoying guy next to her is Shun. She explains that both of them are his seniors and can help him if he's confused about anything. Shun suddenly declares that from now on they're a team, and since he's obviously the leader, he'll personally take care of Zhao Chun. Then he asks about the combat technique he used against Wenhao. Zhu Chen honestly says he doesn't know any combat techniques at all. Shun is shocked when he hears that the move was just a reflex. He laughs and says Wenhao is going to be furious if he finds out. Shacha steps in and explains properly. Combat techniques are special super moves learned from scrolls or memory stones. The more mastery you have, the stronger they become. There are different ranks, and strong fighters build their entire style around combining these techniques. Shun adds that when used a D-rank combat technique called the hook wind kick. Hearing that, Zhou Chen realizes that's why the kick felt so heavy and hard to block. If he had one of those techniques, his chances of winning would be even higher. He asks if they're rare. Shun explains that rarity depends on rank. The school teaches basic ones, but powerful techniques can only be obtained by buying them or having someone share them, and they're expensive. In today's market, even a basic D-rank technique costs around 500,000. Both Shun and Xia proudly say they each have one and can show him if he wants. Zhou Chen immediately thinks these two must be loaded. If that kind of money is nothing to them, then it hits him. He could just ask them how to make money fast. He quickly says he needs around 300,000 but doesn't want to do anything illegal like robbing a bank. Shun casually says the only real fast money option is the Blackwater district. Shaksha instantly shuts that down, telling him not to talk nonsense because the school strictly forbids students from going there. Still, Shun mutters that anything can happen in Blackwater. Both of them check their accounts when Zhao Chen asks for help, but they're completely broke. Even so, Zhou Chun decides he'll check out the Blackwater district after school. He really needs the money. Using the map, he realizes it's actually close to his home. He changes out of his uniform, so no one will recognize him as a student. He even asks Goldfinger what he thinks about this move, but the demon stays silent. From what he's heard, the outer zones don't have strong fighters. His power is equal to a level 4 oracle now, so he figures he can handle himself, and if things go south, he can always run. After walking around, he notices the area looks abandoned. It doesn't seem like some miracle zone at first, but faint footprints on the ground lead toward a hidden pathway. Following it carefully, he finally reaches the real miracle zone inside Blackwater. The place is dirty, chaotic, and full of shady deals. He quickly understands why nobody talks about it. There are no real laws here. Anything goes as long as it makes money. For a moment, he feels hopeful. Maybe he really can make enough to clear his debt here. Then he suddenly calls out to the goons stalking him, asking how long they plan to follow him. One of them laughs and compliments his sharp instincts. He says he was waiting for the perfect moment to strike, but now he'll just beat him down in front of everyone. The guy claims he's seen plenty of rich kids come here in disguise and end up as easy prey. Jochin almost laughs because he's completely broke. The goon warns that since he's an oracle, running would be useless. If he wants to live, he should empty his pockets and follow orders. Zhuchen calmly says he's pretty rude. Then, with a single clean strike, he knocks the leader out cold. The other two get furious and rush at him with knives. Before they can reach him, wooden crates suddenly fall on top of them. A mysterious girl grabs Zokin's hand and tells him to run. They both dash away and reach a hidden safe spot. He thanks her, though honestly it's a bit annoying because he planned to question those guys. The girl acts like she already knows him and asks what he's doing here. Then she suddenly panics, saying she needs to stay low. When Zokin asks if they've met before, she quickly changes the topic and says she just read his name on his collar. He looks down and realizes his name tag is still there. He immediately rips it off. He thinks it's lucky she doesn't actually know him. He never even noticed his name was written on his collar the whole time. He thanks her for pointing it out, while she quietly feels relieved she didn't expose her real identity. She warns him to hide his information better, because this area is dangerous. Then she offers to get him out of Blackwater, but Zokin refuses. He didn't come here to sightsee. He came here to make money. Zhaochen decides it's better to walk away. If that girl finds out he's a student from the academy, he's in serious trouble. As he leaves, she watches him carefully, thinking she definitely knows who he is. When she touched him earlier, she felt something strange, almost like confirmation that he has already awakened as an oracle, and she can't understand what a student is doing in the miracle zone. Meanwhile, Zokin buys a simple mask to hide his face so no one can recognize him. He's still thinking about how he hasn't found a single decent way to make money when a stranger suddenly approaches him. The man introduces himself as a local tour guide and says he can answer any questions that immediately catches Zokin's attention. He asks straight up if there's a place where he can make quick cash. The guide smiles widely, clearly happy to gain another head count, and proudly tells him to follow. The man leads him to a noisy underground arena. When Zoken asks if this is some kind of fight club, the guide confirms it and says this is the fastest way to earn money in Blackwater. He explains that today's winner will get prize money plus a cut from all the bets placed. Even oracles participate, so it's high risk and high reward. After watching the current fight for a moment, Zoken feels confident he can win. The guide offers to arrange betting chips if he wants to participate, and Zoken says he'll take a shot at the prize money anyway. At the same time, the mysterious girl also enters the fight club and begins searching for him. When she spots Zo-chan inside the ring, she freezes, wondering what he's doing there. The first opponent acts arrogant, bragging that he's a seated fighter. Zo-chan knocks him out with a single clean strike. The crowd immediately starts booing because every fight is ending in one punch. Without wasting time, Zhao-chan drops the next two fighters just as easily. He wants to end this fast and collect the money. Watching from above, the club boss gets confused because he only allowed this masked guy to fight since he looked weak. One of his lackeys reports that the remaining fighters have forfeited and customers are demanding refunds, saying the matches look staged. The boss instantly orders a special match because he has no intention of letting Zo-chan walk away with the prize money. After knocking down the last regular opponent, Zoken calmly asks if he can get his reward. Instead, the announcer declares that a special match has been arranged for the crowd's excitement. That's when Joan realizes they never planned to pay him fairly. The lackey roll out a trolley with something chained to it. The announcer introduces the opponent as the Yifo, also called the Freak. When they unbuckle it, the creature drops to the ground like a corpse, and the staff quickly fly the ring and lock it. Suddenly, the Freak opens its eyes. The look on its face is pure menace. In the crowd, a fat guy pretends to be brave in front of his girlfriend, claiming he could beat it in one punch. But he clearly looks terrified. The mysterious girl watches nervously, knowing Zhao-chan can't handle something like this easily. She could step in with her abilities, but that would expose her identity and ruin her plans. Inside the ring, Zo-chan immediately feels the danger. When their eyes meet, it feels like he's prey, and the monster is the hunter. Every instinct in his body tells him to run. The Freak suddenly dashes forward to land a lethal strike. Zo-chan barely dodges in time, realizing he would have died if he reacted a second slower. He understands this isn't like the earlier fights, and decides he has to get serious. The monster corners him, and Zo-chan knows he has to finish this quickly. He borrows strength, raises his level, and slams the Freak into the ground with a powerful punch. For a second, it lies still, and he thinks it's over, but the creature suddenly attacks again, and he barely escapes. Shock hits him because his strongest attack had almost no effect. He quickly creates distance, knowing close combat could get him killed. He dashes around the arena, avoiding strike after strike, while searching for something he can use as a weapon. He manages to break one of the Freak's claws and uses it like a dagger to slash its neck. The cut isn't deep enough to kill it, but now the fight feels more even. Zhao-chan knows he's physically stronger, so if he can get close one more time, he can finish it. As he rushes forward, the monster suddenly releases a strange gas that turns out to be steam, filling the arena with thick fog. Using the fog as cover, the Freak attacks from different directions. Joan can't see anything, and the monster is trying to wear him down. He realizes that if this drags on, he'll die. So, he forces himself to calm down and rely on his other senses instead of sight. Listening carefully and tracking the slightest movements, he finally locks onto the monster's location. He grabs its arm and slices it clean off, creating the opening he desperately needed. He prepares to deliver the final blow, but suddenly his heart starts hurting. The borrowed power is reaching its limit. The Freak takes advantage of the moment, knocking the claw weapon from his hand and lashing out with its tongue to deliver a lethal strike. Even then, Zoken refuses to give up. He pushes past his limits once more, borrows strength again, grabs the monster's tongue mid-attack, swings its entire body into the air, and clamps both hands onto its jaws. With both hands locked onto the Freak's jaws, Zo-chan roars and uses every last bit of borrowed strength. Muscles strain, veins pop, and with a brutal tear, he rips the monster open and finally kills it. The arena goes dead silent for a second. In the control room, the officials staring at the cameras can't even process what they just saw. The boss nervously asks if the new kid finally went down. But when the image clears and Zo-chan is the one still standing, his face turns pale. In the stands, the white-haired girl stares wide-eyed at him, completely stunned, still gripping the monster's head. Zo-chan slowly lifts his gaze and looks straight into the camera. That cold death stare alone makes the officials break into a cold sweat. The boss starts panicking, cursing about the fortune he spent to bring in that fighter, only for this masked kid to tear it apart like paper. The announcer quickly tries to recover, congratulating Zhao Chun and telling him to follow the staff backstage to collect his reward. A little later, a briefcase filled with cash is placed in front of him. An official explains that it totals around $500,000. Zhao Chun reaches out to grab it, but the boss suddenly slams the case shut with a shady grin. He says the deal has changed. Either Zhao Chun becomes a permanent fighter and gets the full amount, or he walks away with only a quarter. Zhao Chun slowly narrows his eyes and tells him to repeat that. The boss snaps back, yelling that the other contestants ran after that fight, and his prize warrior just suffered from sudden head loss disease. Zhao Chun calmly reminds him that this wasn't the original agreement. The rules clearly stated fighters aren't liable if their opponent dies in the ring. He asks again if that wasn't the condition. His aura alone drains the color from the boss's face, giving off pure, murderous vibes. Zoken demands the full payment or there will be consequences. Instead of backing down, the boss pulls out a gun and points it at him. Zhao Chun doesn't even blink. In one smooth motion, he dismantles the weapon and snaps the thug's finger like a twig. The boss screams in pain and orders his men to fill the kid with bullets. The lackeys immediately draw their guns. Zhao Chun just sighs, clearly annoyed. Outside, the white-haired girl hears sudden gunfire and tenses up. A second later, a bodyguard comes flying through a window like an empty soda can and crashes onto the street. The crowd starts wondering if some kind of movie is being filmed. The girl, however, knows better. She's pretty sure this chaos has Zoken's name written all over it. Inside, Zoken tears through the armed bodyguards without hesitation. One bald thug raises his gun, but Zoken slams his head straight through the wall before he can fire. Bursting out of the building with the briefcase in hand, he sprints into the streets while the thugs upstairs shout orders to capture him. As he runs, he realizes he's hitting his limit. His body feels heavier and his injuries are slowly draining his strength. Suddenly, a hand grabs his hoodie and yanks him into a narrow alley. The same white-haired girl quickly covers his mouth as the thugs rush past without noticing them. When the coast is clear, she tells him he's safe. Zhao Chun recognizes her from earlier. She tells him to conserve his strength and says she knows a hidden escape route. She leads him to a tunnel and warns that if he doesn't move now, the thugs will seal off the entire district. He tries to speak, but she cuts him off and tells him to go. With no other option, he thanks her and disappears into the tunnel. After he's gone, she taps her communicator. On the other end, someone angrily demands to know where she disappeared. She brushes it off and tells her sister to shut up and put their grandfather on the line because she has something important to report. Back at his apartment, Zhao Chun barely manages to stumble inside before collapsing onto the floor. He gasps for air, clutching his chest and fighting to stay conscious. When the last bit of strength leaves his body, he finally blacks out. He drifts into a dream where his mother apologizes for lying about getting better. The truth is worse. She only has a few years left at most. She tells him she wanted to see him grow up, meet his children someday, and just spend more time together. She apologizes for not being strong enough to stay by his side, and tells him she loves him more than anything. Tears stream down his face as he's suddenly dragged back to reality. His eyes snap open, and he finds himself staring at the sunny sky outside the window. Slowly sitting up, he realizes he's still inside Zhao Chun's house. Relief washes over him. He's alive. It was just a nightmare from childhood that woke him. Then a voice echoes in his head, asking if he's finally awake. It catches him off guard. He asks Goldfinger where he's been these past few days. The cursed book mutters something about handling business. Then it flips the question and asks what exactly he did to end up unconscious for 2 days straight. Before Zhao Chun can answer, Goldfinger pieces it together. He snuck into an underground arena, burned too much energy, and fought a monster head-on. The demon explodes, shouting at him for being reckless. Zhu Chan tries to shrug it off, but Goldfinger keeps going, warning that his power isn't enough to revive him a second time. He tells him to value his life more, because this is already his second chance. That actually makes Zhu Chun smile a little. He thanks the demon for worrying about him. Goldfinger relaxes and admits that the monster he described doesn't sound like something from this world. That makes Zhao Chun briefly think about the white-haired girl he met there, but he pushes the thought aside. Right now, leveling up is what matters. Then he suddenly remembers the reward from last night. He quickly opens the briefcase and sees stacks of crisp bills inside. The demon mocks him for risking his life over money, but Zoken replies that at least now he doesn't have to worry about his debt until after the tournament. Looking down at his injured body, he mutters that he needs to patch himself up before heading back to school. Rubbing his head, Zhao Chun groans about how he still has to hit the hospital, the bank, and classes all on the same day. At the hospital, the doctor checks him over and says the wound will heal quickly as long as he keeps it clean. Noticing how fast his body is recovering, the doctor casually asks if he happens to be an oracle. Zoken admits that he is. The doctor instantly switches tone and starts pitching some premium membership plan. Zhaochen shuts that down immediately and asks for regular medicine instead. Feeling relieved that the monster's tongue wasn't poisonous, he watches the doctor hand him a bottle of ointment, but the moment he grabs it, he freezes. The bottle is glowing in his hand. He asks why it's shining, but the doctor looks at him like he's crazy and insists it's just a normal container. Zuchin doesn't believe that for a second. He clearly sees it glowing. The doctor awkwardly suggests counseling sessions for stress-induced hallucinations and tries to push the membership again, but Zhu Chun ignores him and walks out. In the hallway, he suddenly notices strange energy flowing everywhere. When he raises his hand, it glows even brighter. That's when it clicks. It's star energy. Remembering the underground fight, he suspects that battle triggered some kind of awakening. A small smile forms on his face. If he can truly sense star energy now, then absorbing it should become way more efficient. Just then, a man walks past him, radiating a bright green aura. Xiaochen forces himself to act normal. After the man passes, he sneaks another look and immediately breaks into a cold sweat. That guy's star energy is on a completely different level. The green-haired man pauses slightly, sensing something, wondering if someone just scanned him. Then he brushes it off. On his communicator, a voice angrily orders him to track down the alien star immediately. He tells him to calm down since he plans to stay in the country for a while. The voice reminds him that the boss's prophecy labeled the alien star as a boss-tier threat that requires constant monitoring. Sliding off his sunglasses, the green-haired man smirks and says the boss worries too much. If that alien star really is their enemy, he'll crush them without hesitation. The next day at school, the principal scolds Zhou Chun for skipping both classes and ignoring his calls. Zhou Chun apologizes and says he got caught up in personal matters. Instead of staying angry, the principal softens his tone. He reassures him that he has full confidence in him for the tournament. He even asks if the school can help if he's dealing with serious trouble, reminding him that supporting elite oracles is their top priority. Jukin smiles and promises to give everything he has in the tournament. That finally puts the principal at ease. Later, Shun and Shurao Shai rush over asking what happened. Shun suddenly remembers that Zhaochan mentioned a combat technique and starts digging through his pockets. He pulls out a credit card and proudly says they managed to gather 300,000 for him. He can pay it back later. Zhu Chan freezes. He didn't expect them to take him that seriously. He thanked them sincerely, but admits he changed his mind about buying the technique. Right then, when shows up looking unusually awkward, he offers 50,000 as an apology for his earlier behavior. Juchin thanks him while Shashai immediately interrogates the redhead, asking if he has some hidden motive. Wingha admits he only wanted to make up for calling him a fraud and hopes they can be friends. Shaksha leans toward Joan and whispers if they should let him join. Jochin shrugs and says he doesn't mind. She turns back to Wenhao and says he can join as the fourth member. He replies that rank doesn't matter to him. Shin instantly tries to boss him around and tells him to fetch water, which sparks a heated argument between the two. Watching them bicker, Shinjin smiles. He's finally found real friends. Later, while running on a treadmill, he recalls that oracles absorb more star energy during physical training. But the absorption rate is painfully slow. Even with training gear on, most of the energy just leaks away. He realizes this must be why so many people stay stuck at level 1 forever. He needs a better method. That's when Shun suggests doing a duel match instead of boring solo training. It suddenly clicked for Zoken. He awakened his new ability during a fight. Maybe combat really boosts absorption. He tells Shun to gather everyone. Soon, Shun and Xia launch a combined attack on him. Jochin handles both of them at once, and after more than an hour tells them to rest. They're completely out of breath. Shurao Sha admits she thought he was joking about a one-on spar. Shun grins and says this training method is insanely effective. Then it's when House's turn. The redhead smirks, ready to jump in, watching everyone. Zhou Chan realizes his theory is correct. Their absorption rates are rising fast. They're going to level up quicker than usual. As for himself, his natural absorption rate is already high. He starts thinking about pushing things further. In this world, supplements are diluted to keep them safe. But even then, people with low absorption barely benefit from them. By comparison, the borrow power skill is 100 times more concentrated than any supplement. If he absorbs it recklessly, his body would explode. But if he can control the flow and take it in slowly, leveling up at insane speed might actually be possible. With that gamble in mind, Zoken activates borrow power. Heavy waves of aura explode out of him instantly, and the raw force almost knocks him off balance. It makes sense though. The skill boosts him by 2 full levels in one shot. So of course it's insane. He clenches his teeth and forces the raging energy into a thin, controlled stream. Slowly, he starts absorbing it instead of letting it explode outward. His whole body locks up from the pressure, muscles trembling like they're about to tear apart. The energy fills him faster than anything he's ever felt. It's overwhelming. Then panic hits. His body feels like it's about to burst. With no other option, Zochun raises his hand and releases the excess upward. A blast of energy shoots into the air, sending shock waves across the training hall. Shun, Sha, and Wen, Hao all shield themselves, staring in disbelief at the pressure crushing down on them. They can't believe what they're seeing. 1 second, he was training. The next, he looks completely overpowered. That disturbance draws Goldfinger out immediately. The demon appears and freezes when he sees the scene. Zhou Chun, drenched in sweat, calmly tells him he managed to absorb it. For a moment, Goldfinger can't even speak. Then he mutters almost to himself, wondering if Zhou Chun is actually the soulmate he's been waiting for all this time. Zhao Chen asks what he just said. The demon quickly brushes it off and says he's just glad the kid isn't dead. Hearing the explosion earlier, Coach Tenzi runs over and demands to know what happened. Xiao Ha quickly points at Zhou Chun, saying he's the one who released that energy. The coach stares at the amount of star energy still lingering in the air and immediately orders the assistants to bring the measurement device. When they measure him, everyone freezes. Zhou Chun has officially reached level 3. For a second, the coach thinks the device is broken. Then reality sinks in. This is the first level 3 oracle the school has seen in a long time. He immediately rushes off to inform the principal. Back in hall, Shirao Sha grabs Zhou Chun and demands to know how he leveled up so fast. She begs him to teach her the method. He just shrugs and says it's all from intense training. In his head, though, he decides next time he'll do this privately so he doesn't cause chaos again. The three of them get fired up and raise the intensity of their practice even more. Later, Zoken quietly asks Goldfinger why he didn't get angry this time. The demon replies that he's getting used to his reckless stunts. Technically, Goldfinger could dump massive power into him any time to level him up fast since he needs Zoken strong, but Zoken says there's no need to rush. He's already storing a mountain of star energy. Once he fully stabilizes this new level, he'll level up again. Simple. Hearing that, Goldfinger actually goes silent for once. Time flies, and soon the tournament day arrives. The whole squad is buzzing when they enter the massive venue. Shia looks around wide-eyed, saying she can't believe she made it here and that her mom would be proud. Shun flexes some knowledge, pointing out that this year has the biggest crowd ever. When House smirks and asks Zoken if he's ready for the level 4 bracket, he's still salty that he didn't level up in time to join it. Joan just shrugs. The principal's words echo in his head. Give it your all. If things get messy, forfeit. No shame in surviving. Since level 3 and level 4 arenas are separated, they part ways. Zhou Chun heads off alone to prepare. Meanwhile, the principal and coach enter the VIP area, looking impressed. The coach laughs, saying this kind of luxury is exactly what they've been waiting for. All thanks to finally having a fighter in the level 4 bracket. Suddenly, Principal Wong approaches and congratulates them for producing 2 high-level students in just a few months. The principal humbly says it's all the students' hard work. He just supported them. He also thanks Wong for providing key information about the competition. After the recent reforms, the government announced grants for winning schools, which means this year's tournament is even tougher. Then an arrogant man complains loudly that some hillbilly forced his way into the VIP lounge. The principal wants to respond, but Wong quietly tells him not to stir trouble. Those are principals from schools that have already won before. The principal calmly replies, that's all in the past. No one knows who will win this year. A white-haired man mockingly tells him to enjoy the VIP view while it lasts. The coach quietly asks if the students will be okay, since this is their first time at such a high event. The principal asks what he thinks of them. The coach answers without hesitation. They're all talented, and Zhu Chun isn't just talented. He's a prodigy beyond genius. The principal nods and says they just need to trust the students. In the stands, the class representative cheers nervously for Zoken. She's never attended something like this before and can't believe he's actually competing. A week earlier, she had been thinking that he'd become the Academy's rising star. She assumed he wouldn't even look at someone from the lower class anymore. Lost thought she almost trips and falls, but Zhu Chun suddenly appears and catches her just in time. He asks if she's okay. She thanks him and nervously asks what he's doing here. He smiles and says he saw her and just wanted to say hi. She admits she thought he wouldn't talk to lower-ass students anymore. Chun looks at her seriously and says, friends are forever. No matter how strong someone gets, that doesn't change. Hearing his words, she feels relieved. Zhou Chun really hasn't changed at all. In her heart, she becomes even more certain that he can win this tournament. The announcer suddenly declares that the contestants are coming to the stage. The class representative lights up the moment she sees Zhao Chun walking out with the others. The announcer welcomes everyone to this year's exchange competition and introduces himself along with his partner Lillian. The moment her name is mentioned, the crowd explodes. Lillian is one of the most famous idols in the entire country. She smiles and says that today she's just an ordinary announcer because the real stars are the contestants. The announcer then explains the rules. From 12 Mi's, there are 48 contestants. 16 are in the level 4 bracket and 32 are in the level 3 bracket. The main hall is reserved for the level 4 matches, and final rankings will be calculated based on combined scores from both brackets. Contestants will fight one by one. Winners advance and face the next winner until only one fighter remains. Each match has a 30-minute time limit, and it ends when one side surrenders or completely loses the ability to fight. Lillian adds that this year's rules are tougher than ever, but tells everyone not to worry and to look at the very top of the pillar. The crowd gasps when they see an S-rank oracle sitting there to casually show his dominance. The S-rank lightly taps the ground with one finger, and the entire floor trembles. The announcer explains that this master personally set up the special ring, which protects the audience from stray attacks and can instantly repair itself after every match. He also instructs contestants to wear special gems that act as identification and provide protection in life-threatening situations. The crowd whispers in awe about how terrifying an S-rank truly is. Zhao Chen looks at the shrink calmly and thinks his presence feels almost like Gojo from a manga. The guy looks completely relaxed, like none of this even matters to him. Lillian announces that results will be displayed on the gemstones and officially declares the tournament has begun. The first match ends in just 17 minutes with Xiaoan taking the win. In the VIP section, the principal says he can't believe an S-rank oracle is personally overseeing the tournament. That alone means this year will be brutal. Principal Wang explains that the real gap lies between level 4 and level 3. Level 4 oracles have complete mastery over their techniques, and elite schools are so wealthy that buying C-rank combat techniques is routine for them. They constantly win because they invest grant money into the best potions and techniques. But this year might be different. In the fifth match, Lan Xin faces Lu Qin, effortlessly dodges every attack, clearly toying with her opponent. Then she uses an ability-based technique to restrain him and finishes the match cleanly. The crowd goes wild. Some even whisper that she must be using magic. The principal looks shocked because that kind of ability can only come from a superior ranked oracle. Principal Wang proudly declares she's a prodigy who awakened her ability at a very young age. Principal Li shrugs and says it doesn't matter. Wang smirks and asks why Li tried to recruit her if that's true. Li replies coldly that it was just an early awakening and nothing special. In the sixth match, Wang's student doesn't even give his opponent a chance. The fight ends in 5 seconds flat. The crowd starts saying that the Blazing Oracle will probably win the whole tournament again. Another principal comments that no one can compare to a student personally trained by Principal Li. Li calmly says, "Barking dogs don't bite." Wang simply tells him to wait and see. Watching all of this, Zokin thinks these fights are on a completely different level. Just qualifying for this tournament already feels like a miracle for someone like him. If he can win even one match, or at least put on a show, that's enough for now. After the seventh match ends, it's finally his turn next. He wonders what kind of fighter his opponent will be. Inside his head, Goldfinger tells him to borrow power and finish it quickly. But Xiaoqin refuses. If he does that, he'll attract too much attention. If someone starts investigating him, things could get messy. On his way to the ring, he runs into Zhou Chun. She tells him he's unlucky to be in the last match because his opponent is one of the strongest fighters here. His combat technique is so powerful that not even a D-ranked oracle can fully withstand it. Zuchin asks if using such a dangerous technique in lower-ranked matches isn't risky. Chen explains that the gemstone can block one lethal attack, but it doesn't prevent heavy damage. That's just the harsh reality of the competition. He asks why she's helping him. She replies that they're allies. They share the same goal, beating all the arrogant fools here. Before leaving, she admits she hoped he could help her later on. But since his opponent is so strong, she says it would already be impressive if he can just exhaust him a little. Hearing that, Zhou Chun starts wondering if his opponent is really that terrifying. Finally, the last match of the first round is about to begin. The crowd cheers loudly as he steps into the ring. For a second, he thinks it's a warm welcome, but the cheers aren't for him. He awakened as an oracle at only 12 years old, and in just 4 years advanced to level 4. He even received a national certificate and a guild invitation, calling him the best fighter of this new era. Wouldn't be an exaggeration. The moment Leiche steps into the ring, the crowd goes insane. Cheers explode from every corner of the arena. The class representative starts to worry because not a single person is cheering for Xiaoqin. A random guy next to her says that of course everyone supports Lei Che. He's strong and handsome. Meanwhile, his opponent just looks like some random hot-headed dude. Hearing that, she fires back saying she supports Zo-chun because he's genuinely kind and gentle. The two start arguing, and people around them begin wondering what's even happening in the stands. Most of the crowd is just excited to see how the genius will perform and whether anyone can stop the undefeated Liangguang Academy. The announcer declares the match will begin, but Lillian interrupts him, asking if he forgot to introduce the other fighter. He quickly apologizes and admits he got carried away. He then introduces Zo-chun as the representative from Lady Oracle Academy, noting that this is the school's first time participating. Other than that, he awkwardly admits there's nothing particularly notable about him and wonders if the academy should have at least bought him a combat technique before sending him here. The crowd immediately starts talking trash. Some laugh at the idea that someone like him could fight a genius. The bandana guy in the stands bursts out laughing and loudly mocks the class rep. In the VIP section, Principal Yu says it's unfortunate they have to face their academy's rising star his first year, but not to worry, it'll end quickly. Principal Wong calmly replies that everyone has to start somewhere, so there's no need to get worked up. Inside the ring, Lei Che tells Zo-chun that he almost feels bad for him. In his very first tournament, he had to face someone like him. Zo-chun calmly tells him to focus on the fight instead. Suddenly, Lei Che dashes forward and appears right beside him in an instant. He casually says he'll only use 10% of his power, so even if the opponent loses, it won't look too embarrassing. The announcer shouts that the final match of the first round officially begins. In the next second, Lei Che moves so fast, it looks like he created multiple shadow clones. All of them attack at the same time. Every contestant watching knows this is brutal. Principal Yu is convinced no one can beat him. Lei Che assumes Zoken isn't reacting because he can't even see him. In his mind, the only real threat in this tournament is Wong. Thinking it's over, Lei Che prepares to deliver the finishing blow. But as he closes in, Zoken calmly asks if he's not going to dodge. Then he lands a savage punch straight to Lei Che's face. The entire arena goes silent. No one understands what just happened. Zhao Chun just countered the genius and hit him clean. Lei Che is famous for dodging everything with his speed. So, was he careless or did he actually fail to dodge? Whispers spread across the crowd. Some even think Shen must be using some kind of hack, because nobody ever lands a first hit on Lei Che. Principal Yu mutters that something's wrong, maybe cheating. But Principal Wong replies that if there were any tricks, the higher-ups would have caught it already. Principal Lee tells Zo to stop whining and just watch the match. It's far from over. On the stage, Lei Che shouts that he's not done yet. He admits he didn't take Zo-chun seriously before and now swears to go all out. Lightning coils around him as he charges power, shouting that his energy is barely under control. Bolts of lightning begin to gather around his body. Zhao Chun stands there calmly, not even blinking. He actually finds it amusing how much star energy Lei Che is burning. Suddenly, a flash of yellow lightning shoots past him. Lei Che ricochets off the barrier and starts bouncing around the arena like a hyperactive pinball, gaining more speed with every impact. The announcer screams that the genius is about to unleash his trump card, while Lillian keeps hyping it up dramatically. Lei Che grins, convinced the win is secured, and dives from above with a fully charged kick. Shen doesn't dodge. He doesn't block. He simply throws one clean punch straight into Lei Che's face. The combined momentum of Lei Che's own charge sends him crashing uncontrollably across the arena floor. Zhu Chun calmly calls out that he should have attacked earlier when he still had a chance. The announcer declares that Lei Che is down again. This time his gemstone turns red, confirming he can no longer continue. While the announcer celebrates the shocking victory, Zhu Chun briefly wonders if Lei Che will be okay. The gemstone should have prevented anything fatal. The crowd erupts in disbelief. The match ended way too fast. With Lei Che defeated, Zo-chun steps in for the next quarterfinal and wins effortlessly. After that, Wang Zhou crushes his opponent without even breaking a sweat. The audience starts calling him a beast. Even so, most eyes keep drifting back to Zoken. The messy-haired kid gives the stand a cold stare that makes an entire section go quiet. In the fourth match, Zan from another academy steps into the ring to face Zo-chun, and this time, the fight is anything but easy. Zhu Chun dodges every single strike from Zio Ran with veteran precision. Calm and untouchable, the guy throws everything he has, but it's like he's swinging at air. Then, Zhu Chun ends it with one light punch to Ran's head. Nothing flashy, just clean and simple. Zio Ran drops hard and crashes to the ground. From above, the officials watch closely and start commenting. They point out that Zhao Chun hasn't used a single combat technique so far. He's relying purely on raw star energy control, which is insane. One of them even wonders if he's hiding his true level or worse, using drugs, which would be a massive violation of tournament rules. Back in the arena, the announcer starts hyping up the semifinals. He calls Zhu Chen up to face another fighter, Lua, building the tension. Suddenly, he freezes mid-sentence as officials in dark suits walk onto the stage. The audience starts whispering in confusion, trying to figure out who these guys are. One inspector orders Zhou Chen to put on special equipment and release his star energy. The crowd quickly realizes these are tournament inspectors. The buzzing gets louder as people start suspecting he's being accused of cheating. Zhao Chun begins sweating, thinking maybe he pushed his power a little too far, and mentally notes that he should limit himself next time. He should. The inspectors check the readings carefully. After a tense pause, they announce that everything is stable and within allowed limits. They declare to the entire crowd that the contestant is not cheating. Then they step aside. The announcer, still in disbelief, shouts that Zhu Chen has officially been confirmed as level 4. The semifinal is cleared to begin. The crowd takes a second to process that information. Then they explode, realizing, our boy is completely legit. Across the stage, Lua starts shaking. His face turns pale as the reality sinks in. When a match begins, it ends almost instantly. Zhou Chen knocks him out cold. With one decisive strike, the announcer nearly loses his voice, screaming into the microphone. Meanwhile, Lillian keeps adding useless filler commentary that nobody really needs. Up in the stands, Principal Wang turns towards Zokin's principal and praises him for producing such a monster of a student. The man smugly accepts the compliments. The other principals who once mocked him suddenly rush over to praise him too. He smiles politely, though all the attention makes him slightly uncomfortable. On the other side, Li and Yu watch with clear annoyance written on their faces. Irritated by the crowd of bootlickers, the principal allows himself a proud smile, thinking Zhao Chen truly kept his promise and protected the honor of their school. Back on the arena floor, the last semifinal is announced. Lan Xin walks onto the stage with tense determination in her eyes. Across from her, Wang Zhou steps forward, his gaze gleaming like a predator staring at fresh prey. The atmosphere immediately shifts. Lanins Jr.'s roar encouragement from the stands. The noise distracts Wang Zhou for just a split second. She notices the opening and charges forward without hesitation. Using her flowing cloud hand technique, she slams a powerful strike into his chest. Wang Zhou doesn't even stumble. He just looks mildly irritated and stares her down. Her confidence starts crumbling as panic creeps in. She realizes her full force attack barely scratched him. Wang Zhou casually grabs her wrist and asks if she really thinks she's talented. Lan Xian snaps back and tells him to get lost. She drives her elbow straight into his face. He doesn't blink and says he actually finds this situation hilarious. Desperation fuels her next move. She charges another blast and binds him tightly with her magic until he looks like a mummy wrapped head to toe. Then she unleashes relentless wind-style kicks, pounding his wrapped body over and over. For a moment, she allows herself to breathe, convinced she finally did some damage. That hope shatters instantly. Wang Zhou suddenly appears behind her like a ghost. The blood drains from her face as she realizes what just happened. She tries to turn around, confused about how he moved so fast. It's already too late. He drives his fist into her, using his blood rage arts. The impact sends her flying straight into the barrier, cracking it open as shards scatter everywhere. Lanson drops to her knees, barely able to breathe. The announcer declares that Wang Zhou now has the upper hand. Her juniors turn away in tears, unable to watch her getting completely destroyed. Principal Wang clenches his fists, silently begging his star student to endure. She remains motionless, staring at the red charm lying beside her. Her voice trembles as she whispers that she can't afford to lose. The sight of the charm pulls her into a memory. Back at school, she had walked into a room filled with worried students. One girl, crying, told her that if the academy shut down, she would be forced to drop out despite dreaming of becoming an oracle. Lan Xin hugged the girls and promised she wouldn't let that happen. She swore she would win the tournament and bring the funds needed to keep the academy open. The black-haired girl looked unconvinced, but Lan Xin insisted she had never broken her word. The girl then pulled out a handmade red charm for good luck. That simple gesture warmed Lan Xin's heart. She promised she would fight with everything she had. Back in the present, she reaches toward the charm again. She whispers that she made a promise. Wang Ho doesn't care. He steps forward and crushes the good luck charm under his foot without hesitation. He mocks her, asking if this is all she amounts to. Then he brutally kicks her while keeping his hands buried in his pockets. Her crystal turns red, and she falls unconscious. Even then, Wang Zhou keeps taunting her. The announcer shouts that the fight is over. Wang Zhao ignores it and raises his foot again, ready to crush her completely. The crowd starts panicking. The announcer screams for someone to stop him. Spectators stare in horror, wondering what the monster is about to do. Principal Wong's voice cracks as he begs for someone to save his student. One official demands action from the master, but the man stays calm and claims the situation is under control. Meanwhile, W. Joe slams his foot down with savage force. The impact carves a crater into the arena floor. Dust flies everywhere. Then his eyes widen. His target is gone. Standing there now is Zhao Chun, holding Chin in his arms. He saved her at the last possible second. He calls out the beast, asking if this is the kind of bullying his school teaches. Wong spins around, fury blazing in his eyes. He screams Zhou Chen's name at the top of his lungs. The announcer cries out in pure relief, declaring that our boy rescued Chin just in time. Principal Wong rushes forward and grabs his injured student, thanking the heavens she's still breathing. The crowd grows restless, unable to believe the beast really tried to finish her even after she lost. Wong doesn't care at all and boldly walks towards Zoken, declaring he'll unalive anyone who dares block his path. That arrogance finally lights a fire in Zoken, and he shoots back a death stare, daring the beast to take a shot. The doctors wheel Chin away while the announcer pushes the staff to reset the arena fast. Up in the stands, Shun and the class rep gather with the others. She confirms Joe Chun already made it to the finals, but admits something feels off about his opponent. The principal's friend yells for Joe Chun not to underestimate who he's facing, and our boy calmly assures him there's nothing to worry about. Back in the arena, Wong mocks Joe Chun for thinking he stands a chance. Joe Chun fires back, saying the guy talks way too much and asking if he's here to fight or just keep yapping. Their auras flare up wildly as they square off, turning it into a straight-up energy standoff. The announcer officially declares the match has begun. Wong launches a sudden punch, but Joe Chun tanks it like it's nothing, not even moving an inch. The beast smirks and says he expected more, but Joe Chun instantly claps back that he stole the words right out of his mouth. Now Wong is the one sweating. Joe Chun presses harder, questioning if this is really the level of a previous tournament champion. He goes for a grab, but Wong barely dodges. The beast activates his blood rage skill, forcing star energy into his body to boost his strength. The two start hammering each other at full speed, neither backing down. The announcer yells that he's never seen a level 4 fighter brawl this ferociously before. Even Zoken's classmates sit stunned, realizing he's been holding back in every sparring session. In the arena, Zoken plants a brutal uppercut straight into Wong Zhou's jaw. His teacher and principal stare wide-eyed, struggling to believe their own student is this strong. Blood sprays from Wong Zhou's mouth as he wonders how someone like him could get pushed back. That thought only fuels his rage. Goldfinger appears, pointing out that Wong Zhou is literally forcing star energy into his body to jack up his power. In a flash, Wong Zhou vanishes, but Zhu Chun keeps up easily. He prepares an elbow strike, thinking speed is useless against his perception skill. In the control room, an official nervously asks the master if they should recheck Wong Zhou's level since it's rising too fast. Calm as ever, the master explains it's just his family's blood rage arts pushing him up one level, so it's not cheating. Then he admits the real mystery is Zhao Chun, who still hasn't gone all out. He can't help but wonder how far this kid can actually go. Back in the ring, they exchange rapid punches nonstop. Burikaos. Shun shouts that Zoken is getting pushed back, but the redhead corrects him, saying he's actually deflecting everything perfectly. Zoken keeps dodging and weaving, locked in and searching for an opening. Then he fires a crushing punch that forces Wong Zhou to block with everything he's got. The impact cracks the floor and sends Wong Zhou skidding back. Zoken follows up with another heavy strike, and Wong Zhou admits he's the first fighter to push him this far. Fueled by pride, he powers up his blood arts even more, screaming that he's still the strongest. Zoken stays unshaken and asks if that's really all he's got. Then Zoken activates his borrow power skill, and his level starts rising, too. The two powerhouses square up again. Zoken realizes he can now clearly read Wong Zhou's attack pattern and detects his weak spot, the heart. Without hesitation, Zoken drives a sharp elbow straight into his chest. Wong Zhou and LT, Unk and GT. His eyes go wide as the air gets knocked out of him. But Zoken doesn't stop, chaining attack after attack and forcing him fully on defense. Each punch grows heavier while Wang Zhou struggles to accept that Zoken's speed and strength are still climbing. Refusing to lose, he pushes his blood arts past their limit. Zhu Chun calmly declares the fight already decided and charges his fist with pure star energy. Wong Zhou screams for him to die and throws a massive punch of his own. Their fists collide, triggering a huge explosion that blasts shock waves across the arena. Spectators shield themselves from the violent blast. The principal panics, demanding to know what just happened. As the smoke clears, the announcer shouts that Wang Ha is still standing. But in the next instant, the beast collapses. His crystal falls to the ground, glowing red. The only one left standing is Zhou Chun. With that, Lida School officially claims first place in the Level 4 category and the entire championship. Shouchun's friends go crazy, celebrating, screaming that they finally won. His teacher and principal cheer loudly, saying he made their school proud. Tears stream down the principal's face as he declares they'll never have to beg for funding again. His teacher just deadpans at the dramatic scene. The same principals who mocked him earlier now rush in to congratulate him, shamelessly sucking up to save face. Meanwhile, Principal Lee is fuming at the humiliation. Even last year's runner-up principal looks completely lost. To make it worse, his supposed ally ditches him on the spot and bolts. Master Yu quietly takes his leave as well now that the tournament is over, and the official sincerely thanks him for his efforts. On his way out, Lee's eyes suddenly narrow when he spots two unfamiliar figures watching from the side. He instantly suspects they're there to scout Zhou Chun. An old man quietly tells the girl next to him that he never expected such a backwater school to produce a monster like this. He asks if she can recruit our hero into their guild. The girl, Linen, admits she and Zhao Chun were childhood friends. Now he doesn't even recognize her. Even so, she swears she'll use everything she has to bring him in. Back inside the arena, the winning team stands proudly on stage. Cameras flash non-stop while the principal shamelessly promotes Lady School Live, milking every second of the victory. Zhu Chen smiles for the photos, but thinks posing for pictures feels harder than the actual fight. The next day, the principal pulls him aside and admits he owes him big time for carrying the whole tournament. True to his word, he hands over the black crystal. The demon inside gets insanely excited. Still, the principal warns him that Major Mize will start calling now and reminds him not to forget where he came from. When Zoken steps outside the office, his friends are waiting with papers in hand, even though it's summer break. Shin throws an arm around him and explains that every top academy sent early admission letters, and they've all been accepted. Zoken congratulates them one by one, but they insist the Real credit belongs to him. Then Shin gets serious and boldly declares that together they'll become the greatest team in the future. Zhao Chen looks slightly confused. Xia quickly explains that even if they attend different Mize, they can still meet up and stick together. Dukin smirks and says he's looking forward to it since he'd be bored out of his mind otherwise. As they walk, he adds that he'll definitely need their help when it's time to train and get stronger. Suddenly, another figure steps out from the corner. The class rep looks at them with determination and asks if she can join their group too. She wants to grow stronger alongside them. Later, when she steps into the elite classroom, she's completely starried. She thanks Zhu Chun for helping her, but he brushes it off and says it was the principal. She also thanks the principal, who replies that he's happy to help. He announces that he plans to upgrade the facilities and make them available to everyone now that they finally have funds. After winning the competition, he can finally make real changes, all thanks to his students. The gang jokes that all these upgrades are happening right after they're about to leave. Jaksha asks the class rep why she's training so hard during vacation with no competition coming up. The class rep shares her backstory, admitting she never believed she was talented. Watching everyone else work so hard lit a fire inside her. She reveals she wants to apply as a special cultural student, and the deadline is only 1 month away. The pink-haired girl gets emotional hearing that. Shaksha grabs her hand and promises to help however she can. Shin then asks Zhao Chun if he's decided on a school yet. He admits he hasn't received any letter. Everyone freezes since they all got instant offers from the 5 major Mize. The principal clears his throat and calls out to Zhu Chun, saying something arrived recently. He hands him a red envelope. Shun sighs in relief, saying there's no way their boy got overlooked. Zhao Chun reads it carefully and says it's from Dawn Academy. Everyone is shocked. The blonde immediately blurts out that Dawn sits at the very top. Zhao Chun asks for an explanation, so he breaks it down. There are 5 major Mize that symbolize authority and power, but one stands above them all, Dawn Academy. And it even has the right to poach students from any other academy. Zhou Chen asks why there aren't 6. If Dawn is above the 5, the principal explains that Dawn's value can't be measured normally. All of them were built to combat something called the Rift. He gets serious and says this is confidential, but he'll tell them anyway. The Rift is another dimension filled with overpowered monsters. If those creatures break into the real world, it's game over. That's why envoys are sent to clear these rifts whenever portals appear. Clearing a rift is extremely profitable, but the risk is insane. The principal reveals he once belonged to a rift clearing squad. It only took the death of one key member for the whole team to collapse, and it was eventually disbanded. Even other Mize send students into rifts, but Dawn is on another level, so he warns Zoken to think carefully. He reassures him that the other Mize are still open options and that risking his life isn't something to take lightly. Jo Chun has already made up his mind. He says he'll join Dawn. The principal smiles like he expected that answer and comments that he'll definitely reach new heights. Shun throws an arm around him again and says they'll all grow stronger together, so even the rift won't be a big deal. Then the blonde notices the deadline is only 10 days away, even though it's usually half a year. Now, Zoken is the one sweating. He says he needs to prepare and won't be able to train the class rep for now. The gang reassures him they'll handle things. Back at his apartment, he starts making a preparation list. Suddenly, the demon book appears and makes the black crystal float in front of it. An arm extends from the book and touches the crystal. It absorbs something from inside. The black crystal drops to the floor and shatters. Zhu Chun nearly has a heart attack. Shu is heartbroken, whining that he wanted to sell the black crystal for cash. Goldfinger tells him to let it go since it's useless now, and asks how the school visit went instead. Zhao Chen reveals he got accepted into Dawn Academy, the perfect place to earn money and grow stronger. The only catch is that he'll have to raid rifts. The demon book brushes it off, saying rifts are nothing to fear since star energy literally comes from there. Zhu Chun quickly changes the subject and asks if there's any reward since one of his wishes has already been fulfilled. Goldfinger gets annoyed at being treated like a wishing well. Still, he agrees to help because the rifts are connected to his own goals. He tells Dao Chan to endure it and releases a wave of dark energy into him. Our boy absorbs the aura, and the system notifies him that he has unlocked the ability Divine Creation. The power reshapes his entire body as he grits his teeth through the pain. When it's over, he has reached level 6. Breathing heavily, Jo Chun asks what just happened. The system explains he can now create anything using his energy. Goldfinger reveals that the skill once belonged to his old friend Sato, and it can literally create anything. Zochin wonders if this is just a fancy way to level up. Goldfinger immediately scolds him, saying levels aren't everything. He explains that levels only improve basic physique, but the first awakening at Dank determines someone's true future. That's why he gave him this skill, so he wouldn't awaken something completely useless. It suddenly clicks for Zoken that Chin had an ability-type awakening too. Normal combat skills don't even compare. He realizes entering a rift requires more than brute strength. Goldfinger tells him the power depends entirely on mindset and urges him to test it. After the remodeling, Zoken notices he can't feel star energy being absorbed anymore. Even the system panel now looks like a full-on video game interface. Checking his stats, he wonders if there's a shop feature, but it's locked. A bunch of other functions are also locked until he levels up. On the level up screen, he sees several side missions, but doesn't have enough soul points to activate them. Goldfinger asks what's taking so long. Jochin explains that he needs to enter a rift to level up properly, but he's not strong enough yet. The demon book starts complaining that he's turning out to be pretty useless. Suddenly, a new system notification pops up. Another wish has been completed. His body glows as he receives a new reward, mage armor. The equipment is unique grade and can summon armor around his body to block attacks. It boosts both defense and strength. Jo Chun is thrilled. Goldfinger gets a little emotional, saying he just used up all the power he had stored. He tells Zoken to do his best from here on. The next day, the principal asks why he's leaving so early. Zhao Chan explains that even though the trip only takes a day, he wants to arrive ahead of time. He hands the principal a note and asks him to give it to his sister at the hospital and keep an eye on her. The principal says he should deliver it himself. Zhao Chen replies that the situation is complicated and he can't see her right now. The principal doesn't press further and agrees. Everyone wishes Zoken well. He waves goodbye and heads out. At the airport, the receptionist asks why he needs a visa and flight ticket to the city's mid-level area. Zoken says he got admitted. She finds that odd since it's summer vacation. She asks for proof. He hands over Dawn Academy's card. Her eyes widen immediately. She says she's never seen one in her entire career. She stares at him in disbelief while he looks confused. He asks if she needs the admission letter, too. She quickly apologizes and says the card is more than enough. He's surprised he doesn't even need a ticket. She explains that someone of his status only needs one for the return flight. Later, Zhao Chen lounges in his first-class seat, wondering if this is also a Dawn privilege. Looking out the window, he hopes the academy lives up to the hype. Upon arriving at Dawnbreaker Academy, the atmosphere feels strangely calm. He heads to reception for registration. When the receptionist hears the name Zhao Chun, he immediately offers to personally escort him since someone is waiting. Zhou Chun is low-key shocked. He didn't expect to be important enough for that. They stop at a stone monument, and the receptionist instructs him to place his card on it. Confused but obedient, he does. In the next second, they're teleported directly to the academy grounds. The experience leaves him speechless. Soon after, he's brought to the person waiting for him, a beautiful girl with long white hair, Lin. She asks if he remembers her. He admits that he does and says he's been hoping for a chance to thank her. To his surprise, she turns out to be his senior. Once the receptionist leaves, Zhaochen wonders why Lin seems so eager. Before he can step closer, Qing Chong blocks his path. Lin frowns and sharply tells Kuji Mingchong to show respect to their guest. She invites Zhou Chen to talk. He asks her to get straight to the point, so she makes him an offer to join her guild. The price she offers is 30 million. Zhaochen's mind nearly explodes. Even Qing Chong looks stunned, wondering if Lin has completely lost it as he starts bad-mouthing our guy on the spot. Angril, Lin shoots a cold look at Koming Chanjin and asks since when he was put in charge of decisions. The guy instantly starts sweating, fumbling over his words while thinking why she's even defending Zhou Chun. She turns back to our boy and calmly says 30 million is the highest she can offer. Zoken feels torn between the insane money and his current weak rank status. Before he can answer, an announcement orders all freshmen to gather in the assembly hall. Lin tells him to think carefully and says she understands how overwhelming the offer must be. He replies that he'll consider it, and she walks him to the hall. Inside, a golden-haired guy sits near Zhao Chun, clearly trying to make him look small in comparison. His interest in Lin isn't pure at all. He plans to marry her someday to strengthen his family's influence. The orientation begins as Zhang Hai introduces himself and congratulates them on entering Dawnraker. He calls them geniuses, but reminds them they're still just freshmen. He warns them about something called the Fissure, a deadly hunting ground where oracles can easily become prey. Normal weapons are useless there. Only powerful cores and gear made from fissure materials truly work. Dawnbreaker gathers elite oracles to build a defense line against these threats. Adapt and grow stronger or become useless. That's the rule here. Seeing no fear in their eyes, Zhang Yi declares the first assessment a success. Each student receives a skill.